My name is Dr. Ethan Blackwood. I'm 52 years old, and I've been a practicing neurosurgeon for over 20 years at New Hope Medical Center in Chicago. But 3 years ago, my entire life and understanding of reality changed dramatically after a near-fatal car accident and the profound near-death experience that followed. It was a rainy Tuesday morning in April. I remember it vividly. The smell of petrichor in the air, the rhythmic swish of windshield wipers battling the downpour. I had received an urgent call about a patient with a severe brain hemorrhage. Time was of the essence. I was rushing to the hospital, my mind already running through potential surgical approaches. As I navigated the wet highway, my car suddenly hydroplaned. In that heart-stopping moment, I lost all control. The world became a dizzying blur as my vehicle rolled multiple times down an embankment. The last thing I remember was the sickening crunch of metal and glass before everything went black. What came next was extraordinary. It defies explanation by any scientific framework I'd previously accepted. Yet it was more real than anything I've ever experienced. I found myself floating above my mangled car. At first, I thought I was dreaming. I've had flying dreams before, but this felt different. I could control my movements with just a thought. When I tried to descend, I couldn't. Instead, I felt a gentle upward pull. It took me a moment to process what was happening. I looked down and saw my body, partially ejected from the driver's side window. That's when the realization hit me like a thunderbolt. If that's me down there, then what am I up here? Everything was incredibly vivid. My vision was clearer than it had ever been, even better than with my glasses. I could feel the chilly April air and the warmth of the morning sun on well, not my skin exactly, but my essence. It's hard to describe, but what truly caught my attention was what I saw in the sky above me. There was a vortex, I suppose you could call it, a gap in the sky filled with swirling clouds and what looked like plasma lightning. Inside this vortex were stars, but not like the ones we see at night. These were like the center of the universe, revolving around the brightest light imaginable. I was awestruck. I remember exclaiming, "Oh my God, you are real." I felt so small, so humbled. All my years of scientific knowledge and skepticism melted away in an instant. I realized how naive I had been my entire life. As I gazed into this cosmic spectacle, I experienced what I can only describe as a life review. I saw my entire life from God's perspective. Every decision, every action. It was overwhelming, especially when I saw the times I had been selfish or hurtful to others. The pain of this realization was intense. Just when I thought I couldn't bear it anymore, an entity composed of pure light approached me. I believe this was Jesus, though not in the form we typically see in our work. This being radiated a level of compassion and love that I can barely describe. It was as if all the love in the universe was concentrated into this single point of light. The being, Jesus, touched me and said, "I'll take it. It's for me." Suddenly, all the pain and guilt I had been feeling vanished. He told me I was forgiven, that being human inherently means we will make mistakes. The relief I felt was indescribable. It was like a weight I didn't even know I was carrying had been lifted from my soul. Once the initial overwhelming emotions subsided, I found myself filled with an insatiable curiosity. Here I was, in the presence of what I believed to be the divine, with access to universal knowledge. How could I not ask questions? So I did. I started asking about everything: aliens, UFOs, parallel universes, the nature of reality itself. I felt like an excited child at the foot of an all-knowing parent. I heard what I can only describe as a loving chuckle from Jesus. Then something incredible happened. It was as if the top of my head opened up and I could suddenly access all the knowledge of the universe. I understood everything, from the Big Bang to the eventual end of the universe, and even beyond that. Let me try to explain what I learned, though human language feels woefully inadequate to describe the vastness of this knowledge. I saw the cycle of the universe: Big Bang, expansion, contraction, and then Big Bang again. But it wasn't just a simple repeat. Each cycle retained a sort of memory from previous cycles, influencing the evolution of the next universe. The Big Bang isn't a singular event, but part of an eternal cycle. I understood that what we perceive as the beginning and end of the universe are actually transitions in a much larger, ongoing process. Time, as we understand it, is an illusion created by our limited perspective. In the higher reality I experienced, all times, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously. It's like looking at a completed book. Each page exists at the same time, but when we're reading it, we experience it sequentially. This understanding has profound implications for concepts like free will and predestination. What I grasped is that free will and determinism aren't mutually exclusive as we often think. From our limited perspective, we make choices, and those choices matter. But from the higher perspective, all potential choices and their outcomes already exist. Our consciousness navigates through these potentials, creating our experienced reality. It's like we're simultaneously the authors and the characters in our own story. Regarding extraterrestrial life, what I understood is that the universe is teeming with life in forms we can scarcely imagine. But I also understood why we haven't made contact yet. The vastness of space and the differences in how various life forms perceive and interact with reality make communication incredibly challenging. It's not as simple as picking up an intergalactic phone. Some civilizations are so advanced that their very nature of existence is different from ours. They don't necessarily have physical bodies as we understand them, but exist as energy or consciousness. This is part of why detection and communication are so challenging. We're often looking for life that's similar to us, but the most advanced forms are very different. I saw that what we call dark matter and dark energy are actually teeming with life and energy, just in a form that our current instruments can't detect. It's like, imagine fish trying to understand the concept of air. We're limited by our perceptions and the tools we've developed based on those perceptions. I saw that consciousness isn't produced by the brain, but rather the brain acts as a receiver and translator of consciousness, which exists at a fundamental level of the universe. It's similar to how a radio doesn't produce the music it plays, but receives and translates radio waves into sound. This understanding revolutionized how I think about the brain and its functions. It opened up new possibilities for understanding phenomena like near-death experiences, meditation states, and even certain psychiatric conditions. As for the purpose of human life, what I understood is both simple and profound. Our purpose is to experience, to learn, and to grow. Each life is a unique perspective through which the universe experiences itself. Our struggles, our joys, our relationships, they're all part of this grand tapestry of experience. The key is to approach life with love, compassion, and a desire to understand and help others. I also gained insights into the nature of good and evil and morality. What I understood is that our concept of good and evil is a simplified view of a much more complex reality. Actions have consequences, and those consequences ripple out in ways we can't always foresee. But there wasn't a sense of judgment in the way we often think about it. Instead, it was about understanding, growth, and learning from our choices. The forgiveness I experienced from Jesus was unlike anything I've ever felt. It wasn't just words, but a tangible force of pure love and acceptance. At that moment, I understood that divine love is unconditional and all-encompassing. It doesn't negate the consequences of our actions, but it provides a foundation for growth and healing. This forgiveness wasn't just for specific actions, but a complete acceptance of my whole being, flaws and all. As amazing as this experience was, I knew I had to return to my body. The process of returning was like trying to fit a supercomputer into an old desktop. I had to let go of much of the universal knowledge I had gained to fit back into my physical form. I re-entered through the top of my skull, and it felt like an airtight seal closing. At first, it felt like entering an abandoned house, cold, quiet, and empty. I had to consciously restart my bodily functions, like telling my heart to beat and my lungs to breathe. It was a struggle to move, and when I opened my eyes, all I could see was blood. Thankfully, I wasn't alone. A soldier who had witnessed the accident was there. He thought I was dead and was crying when I started moving. I told him I had just spoken to God, and that everything would be okay. He held my hand until the paramedics arrived. My injuries were severe, multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and a particularly complex pelvic fracture. I spent 36 hours in and out of consciousness in the ICU. The doctors weren't sure if I would survive. During this time, I had more out-of-body experiences. I spent a lot of time hovering above my body, watching the medical team work. A priest came in several times to give me last rites, but each time, I would return to my body and insist I wasn't going to die. I'm not sure if I actually managed to make any sound, but I was certainly trying. It was frustrating because I knew with absolute certainty that it wasn't my time to go, but I couldn't effectively communicate that. During one of these out-of-body experiences, Jesus appeared to me again. This time, he appeared in a more human form, a handsome face with wide brown eyes, a strong jawline, and long, curling black hair. He wore a simple robe, but it was filled with the most beautiful light. He touched my hand, and I felt warmth throughout my entire body. After that, my condition stabilized. The recovery process was long and challenging. I spent 5 weeks in the hospital, followed by 6 months in a rehabilitation center. It took 9 months before I could stand, and 6 more before I could walk. But now, 3 years later, I can even dance pain-free. Every step, every movement is a reminder of how far I've come and how precious life is. I make it a point to dance every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. It's my way of celebrating life and the incredible journey I've been on. This near-death experience has changed everything about my life. My perspective on life, death, and the nature of reality has been completely transformed. I've become more compassionate, more aware of the impact of my actions on others. I've also become more open to the mysteries of the universe. As a neurosurgeon, I used to believe that consciousness was simply a product of brain function. Now, I understand that it's so much more than that. This new understanding has profoundly affected my approach to my medical practice. I now approach my patients with a new level of empathy and understanding. I'm much more open to discussing the spiritual and emotional aspects of their experience, not just the physical. I encourage patients to share their fears, their hopes, and any spiritual beliefs they have, as I've seen how these can play a crucial role in the healing process. I've become a strong advocate for improving end-of-life care. My experience has given me insights into what patients might be experiencing as they approach death, and I work to ensure they're treated with the utmost compassion and dignity. I've also started incorporating mindfulness and meditation techniques into treatment plans, especially for patients dealing with chronic pain or recovering from severe injuries. I've found that these practices can have a profound impact on both physical and emotional healing. My research interests have also shifted. I've become deeply interested in the intersection of neuroscience and consciousness studies. I'm currently involved in a research project studying the brain activity of people who have had near-death experiences, trying to understand the neurological correlates of these profound experiences. I'm also collaborating with quantum physicists to explore theories about consciousness that go beyond the traditional materialist paradigm. The goal is to develop a more comprehensive understanding of consciousness that can account for experiences like NDEs. My spiritual understanding has deepened and broadened. Before my NDE, I would have described myself as agnostic. I believed in the possibility of something beyond our physical reality, but I wasn't committed to any particular belief system. Now, I have a profound sense of the spiritual nature of reality, but it doesn't fit neatly into any one religious tradition. What I experienced was beyond any human conception of God or the divine. It was a sense of all-encompassing love and unity that transcends our earthly divisions. I've found beauty and truth in many different spiritual traditions since my experience. I see them as different perspectives on the same ultimate reality. But I also believe that direct personal experience of the divine is available to everyone, not just through near-death experiences, but through practices like meditation, prayer, and mindful living. I understand that many people might be skeptical of my experience. As a neurosurgeon, I'm well aware of how the brain can create vivid experiences, especially under extreme stress. Before this happened to me, I would have been skeptical too. But there are several aspects of my experience that are difficult to explain through purely materialist models. During my out-of-body experiences, I gained verifiable information about conversations and procedures that happened while I was supposedly unconscious. For example, I was able to recount details of a conversation between two surgeons about a challenging aspect of my pelvic reconstruction, which happened while I was under general anesthesia. I later verified this with the surgeons, who were astonished that I knew about it. The profound and lasting changes in my personality and worldview, and the consistency of my experience with thousands of other reported NDEs from around the world, also suggest that something more is going on than just hallucinations. I would encourage skeptics to keep an open mind and to look at the growing body of research on NDEs. While we don't have all the answers, the evidence suggests that these experiences are more than just hallucinations. That said, I don't think everyone needs to believe in NDEs or an afterlife. What's most important is how we live this life, with compassion, love, and a desire to grow and help others. That's a message I think everyone can get behind, regardless of their beliefs about what happens after death. The most profound insight I gained from my near-death experience is the fundamental interconnectedness of all things. We are all part of a larger whole, intimately connected to each other and to the universe itself. This understanding has filled me with a deep sense of responsibility and purpose. Every interaction, every choice we make, has ripple effects that extend far beyond what we can see. So the most important thing we can do is to approach life with love, compassion, and a genuine desire to help others and contribute positively to the world. I've also learned the importance of being present in each moment. This life, this experience we're having right now, is incredibly precious. It's easy to get caught up in regrets about the past or anxiety about the future, but the present moment is where life actually happens. Lastly, I've learned that growth often comes through challenges. The difficult experiences in our lives are opportunities for learning and evolution. So while we shouldn't seek out suffering, when challenges do come, we can approach them with an attitude of curiosity and openness to what they might teach us. My near-death experience wasn't just a glimpse of what might come after death. It was a profound lesson in how to live. It showed me that our actions, even the smallest ones, have consequences that ripple out far beyond what we can see. It taught me that love, compassion, and forgiveness are not just nice ideas, but fundamental forces in the universe. I now understand that we are all on a journey of growth and learning. The physical world we inhabit is just one level of a much larger, more complex reality. Our task is not to escape this reality, but to fully engage with it, to learn from it, and to help others along the way. The knowledge I gained during my NDE about the nature of the universe and consciousness has profoundly changed how I view my work as a neurosurgeon. I now see the brain not just as an incredibly complex organ, but as an interface between our physical reality and the greater consciousness that permeates the universe. This understanding has led me to approach my patients' care in a more holistic way. While I still rely on my medical training and the latest scientific research, I also recognize the power of the mind-body connection and the role of consciousness in healing. I've started incorporating practices like guided imagery and meditation into my patients' recovery plans, alongside traditional medical treatments. The results have been remarkable. I've seen patients recover from severe brain injuries in ways that defy conventional medical explanation. My experience has also given me a new perspective on death and dying. While I still fight to save every life I can, I no longer view death with the same fear and dread I once did. I know now that consciousness continues beyond the death of the physical body, and this knowledge allows me to provide better comfort and support to terminally ill patients and their families. A challenging aspect of integrating my NDE into my life has been reconciling the vast knowledge I gained with the limitations of our current scientific understanding. There were moments when I felt frustrated, knowing things about the nature of reality that I couldn't prove or even adequately explain using our current scientific frameworks. But over time, I've come to see this as an exciting opportunity rather than a frustration. It's pushed me to bridge the gap between spiritual experience and scientific understanding. I've initiated collaborations with quantum physicists, consciousness researchers, and even philosophers to explore new paradigms that might better explain phenomena like NDEs. During my NDE, I experienced consciousness as something that wasn't confined to my brain or body. I was able to perceive events happening at a distance from my physical form, This suggests that consciousness might be more like a field that permeates everything, rather than something generated by the brain. We're using advanced neuroimaging techniques to study the brain activity of meditators, psychedelic users, and people undergoing hypnosis, looking for patterns that might indicate when consciousness is operating in a non-local manner. It's early days, but the results are promising and could revolutionize our understanding of the mind-brain relationship. Another area that fascinates me is the connection between quantum physics and consciousness. During my NDE, I perceived reality as fundamentally interconnected in a way that's strikingly similar to quantum entanglement. I'm working with physicists to explore whether quantum effects might play a role in consciousness, potentially explaining phenomena like telepathy and psychokinesis that I witnessed in the higher realms. My experience has also led me to reconsider the nature of time. In our everyday lives, we experience time as a linear progression from past to future. But during my NDE, I perceived all times as existing simultaneously. This aligns with some interpretations of Einstein's theory of relativity, which suggests that past, present, and future all exist in a four-dimensional block universe. I'm collaborating with cosmologists to explore how this understanding of time might change our models of the universe's evolution. If all times exist at once, it could have profound implications for how we understand causality, free will, and the nature of reality itself. The life review was the most personally significant aspect of my NDE. Experiencing the effects of my actions not just on myself, but on others, and even on the world at large, was profoundly humbling and enlightening. It's led me to advocate for a more interconnected view of ethics and morality. I now understand that every action we take, every word we speak, has consequences that ripple out far beyond what we can see. This has made me much more mindful in my daily life. I try to approach every interaction, no matter how small, with kindness and consideration. This perspective has also influenced my approach to medical ethics. I've become a vocal advocate for more holistic, patient-centered care that considers not just the physical aspects of health, but the emotional, social, and spiritual dimensions as well. I've also become more involved in environmental causes. My NDE gave me a visceral understanding of the interconnectedness of all life on Earth. I saw how human actions are affecting the delicate balance of our planet's ecosystems. As a result, I've been working with environmental scientists to raise awareness about climate change and biodiversity loss, framing these issues not just in scientific terms, but as spiritual and ethical imperatives. Dealing with my post-NDE life has been a real struggle, and honestly, the biggest challenge has been trying to put my experience into words. Imagine trying to describe colors to someone who's been blind from birth. That's pretty much how it feels. Every time I try to explain what I went through and what I learned, it just seems like words fall short. It's like I'm trying to convey something so profound that our language just can't capture. A major challenge in my post-NDE life has been grappling with the inadequacy of human language to capture the full scope of my experience. It's like trying to describe colors to someone who's been blind since birth. Words fall short, leaving me feeling as though I'm speaking in shadows about a world made of light. That's how it feels to translate the profound insights and lessons from my NDE into the limited framework of everyday speech. This has led me to explore alternative forms of expression. I've taken up painting, trying to capture in visual form some of the indescribable vistas I witnessed in the higher realms. I've also been working with composers, attempting to translate into music some of the celestial harmonies I heard. These artistic endeavors aren't just for my own benefit. I've found that they can be powerful tools for helping others connect with the spiritual dimension of reality. We've been using these paintings and musical compositions in guided meditation sessions with patients, often with remarkable results in terms of pain reduction and emotional healing. Another significant change in my life has been my approach to relationships. The unconditional love I experienced during my NDE has transformed how I interact with others. I've become much more patient, more forgiving, and more willing to see things from other people's perspectives. This has improved my relationships with my family and friends, but it's also changed how I relate to strangers and even to those who might be considered enemies. I've become involved in conflict resolution initiatives, sharing my experience of universal love and interconnectedness to help bridge divides between individuals and communities. One of the most profound aspects of my NDE was the encounter with Jesus. As I mentioned earlier, this wasn't the Jesus of traditional Christian iconography, but a being of pure light and love. This experience has led me to a more universal, inclusive understanding of spirituality. I no longer identify with any single religious tradition. Instead, I see wisdom and truth in many different spiritual paths. I've been working with interfaith groups, sharing my experience as a way to promote understanding and harmony between different religions. At the same time, I've maintained a deep personal connection with the divine. I meditate daily, attempting to recapture some of the profound peace and unity I experienced during my NDE. While I can't fully replicate that state in everyday life, these practices help me stay centered and connected to the larger reality I glimpsed. My NDE also gave me a new perspective on the role of suffering in human life. I saw that many of the challenges and hardships we face are opportunities for growth and learning. This doesn't mean that suffering is good or desirable, but it has helped me approach difficulties with more equanimity and even curiosity. I share this perspective with my patients, especially those dealing with chronic conditions or facing long recoveries. I've found that helping people find meaning in their struggles can significantly improve their ability to cope and even their physical outcomes. I've become involved with several organizations that research NDEs and provide support for those who have had them. These connections have been invaluable. They've provided validation for my own experience and have allowed me to help others who are struggling to integrate their NDEs into their everyday lives. It's also been fascinating to compare notes, so to speak. While every NDE is unique, there are often striking similarities that suggest we're all tapping into the same greater reality. I've also had the opportunity to work with people who have had spiritually transformative experiences through other means, such as deep meditation, shamanic rituals, or psychedelic experiences. The parallels between these experiences and NDEs are often remarkable, suggesting that there are multiple pathways to accessing higher states of consciousness. As I've shared my story over the years, one of the most common questions I get is, why you? Why were you given this incredible experience and all this knowledge? The truth is, I don't have a definitive answer. I don't believe I was specially chosen or that I'm in any way superior to others. What I do believe is that we all have the potential to access higher states of consciousness and to connect with the divine. My NDE was one way of doing that, but it's not the only way. I encourage everyone to explore their own spiritual path, whether that's through meditation, prayer, communing with nature, or any other practice that helps them connect with something larger than themselves. I've also come to believe that part of the reason I had this experience was to share it with others. Not to convert anyone to a particular belief system, but to offer hope, to encourage curiosity about the nature of reality, and to promote a more compassionate, interconnected way of living. As I reflect on the 3 years since my NDE, I'm filled with a sense of gratitude and wonder. The experience was challenging in many ways. The accident itself, the long recovery, the struggle to integrate what I learned into my everyday life. But I wouldn't change it for anything. My NDE gave me a new lease on life, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally as well. It showed me the vastness of the universe and our place within it. It revealed the incredible potential that lies within each of us. And it taught me that love, in its purest, most unconditional form, is the fundamental force that underlies all of existence. I continue to work as a neurosurgeon, but my practice is now infused with the wisdom and compassion I gained during my NDE. I approach each patient not just as a collection of symptoms or a problem to be solved, but as a fellow soul on a journey of growth and learning. I'm more committed than ever to pushing the boundaries of our understanding of consciousness and reality. Whether through scientific research, philosophical inquiry, or spiritual practice, I believe we are on the cusp of a new paradigm that will revolutionize how we understand ourselves and our place in the universe. To those who hear my story, I offer this. Stay curious. Stay open to the mysteries of existence. Treat each other, and indeed all of life, with compassion and respect. And remember that we are all far more than our physical bodies. We are eternal, multidimensional beings having a temporary human experience. My near-death experience showed me that death is not the end, but a transition. It's not something to be feared, but to be approached with a sense of curiosity and even anticipation. At the same time, it taught me the incredible preciousness of this life we're living right now. Every day, I strive to live up to the insights I gained during my NDE. I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes, still have moments of doubt or frustration. But I now have a deeper well of compassion for myself and others, and a profound sense of purpose that guides my actions. If there's one message I'd like to leave you with, it's this: love is real. It's not just an emotion or an evolutionary adaptation. It's the fundamental fabric of the universe. Every act of kindness, every moment of compassion, resonates with the very essence of creation. So go forth and love. Love boldly, love unconditionally. Love yourself, love others, love this beautiful, mysterious universe we're all part of. In doing so, you'll be aligning yourself with the deepest truth of existence. And who knows, you might just catch a glimpse of the divine right here in your everyday life. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. May it bring you hope, inspire your curiosity, and remind you of the incredible adventure that is this human life. Remember, the greatest mysteries of existence are not just out there in the cosmos, but within each of us. Never stop exploring, questioning, and seeking to understand.